Ukrainian man dies and reveals shocking truths about the meaning of life. Welcome, everyone. I go by the name Thomas, and I am here to share the near-death experiences of individuals who have ventured to the other side. If you find these videos engaging, please consider giving them a thumbs up, subscribing, and ringing the bell icon for notifications on upcoming content. It's a free gesture that significantly contributes to the growth of the channel. Get yourself comfortable, grab a cup of coffee or tea, and let's explore today's profound encounter. I've undergone 3 near-death experiences, with the second and third mirroring the accounts of others. The second and third incidents took place when I was 20. 1. Occurring 2 months apart. My routine involves waking up late at night to use the bathroom. However, on this particular occasion, despite the appearance of falling asleep, I distinctly remember that it was no dream, an unequivocal certainty. Ordinarily, I get up, traverse a dark hallway, switch on the light, and proceed to the bathroom. However, this time, after turning on the light, I inexplicably found myself back in bed, as if I hadn't moved at all. Even after my third attempt, meticulously retracing my steps, I ended up back in bed. Following this third try, a sense of unease gripped me. Confused, I contemplated the situation for a considerable duration. Suddenly, I discovered that I couldn't move my feet, legs, or any part of my body, despite lying flat with no external pressure. It felt as if the blood in my body had ceased flowing, akin to the sizzling of vegetable oil in a frying pan. A peculiar lightness enveloped me as I began to levitate toward the ceiling, parallel to the floor, a sensation I found oddly enjoyable. However, when I turned over and saw myself alongside my body in the dark room, an overwhelming terror engulfed me. It was a fear entirely unprecedented and likely never to be replicated. The fear of complete isolation, incapable of calling out to anyone. Thoughts raced through my mind about my parents discovering me in the morning, possibly in a state of shock. Desperately, I tried to re-enter my body, fearing the possibility of death rather than mere unconsciousness. Recollections of my first near-death experience provided a semblance of calm, and I systematically attempted to move different body parts, initiating with my hands. Fingers and feet remained immobile until the shock of re-entry prompted eyelid movement, eventually enabling me to regain full control. I cautiously examined my surroundings, turning on the room light, walking around and sitting down several times. Then I went to the bathroom, turned on the light, and attended to my usual routine. I could feel it when I pinched myself, confirming that everything was normal. In the morning, I recounted this experience to my relatives, although they met it with skepticism. The third incident closely mirrored several accounts I've encountered in English on your site, and I can unequivocally affirm it was a near-death experience. NDE. During this episode, while in a state of sleep and dreaming, my dream abruptly ceased, and everything vanished. Once again, I found myself unable to move a muscle, accompanied by the familiar sensation of my blood sizzling like vegetable oil in a skillet. Despite it being 2 months since the second incident, I was not frightened. Instead, I attempted to fly around the room, a sensation beyond the confines of a dream due to its sudden interruption. I left my body, ascended to the ceiling, and returned to my body. Suddenly, my eyes rolled back and then inward, an unusual experience, considering I wasn't on any medication and didn't smoke. The sensation mirrored the intensity of an orgasm, as if my eyes were delving deep into my head, and I felt a profound sense of being drawn out of my body. Surrendering to this force, I underwent an overwhelming euphoria, or absolute ecstasy. Subsequently, I felt as if I were soaring through a dark tunnel, and currents I'd encountered in American broadcasts and read about in local papers. Accelerating, a light materialized in the distance, rapidly drawing near. Upon entering the light, it surrounded me, bright yet not blinding, with a milky white tint and tiny points of multicolored light. This extraordinary light radiated love and peace, instilling in me a sense of security and eliminating any feeling of loneliness. Within the light, instantaneous access to knowledge about everyone created a fascinating sense of transparency. Communication unfolded effortlessly through telepathy, leaving no room for lies or misunderstandings. Returning to my body, I successfully regained movement after a few attempts, particularly with my right big toe. Interestingly, the events leading up to these incidents and their consequences are even more captivating. Prior to these experiences, I had been grappling with depression. It was the year 1995. Amid a significant economic downturn, pursuing a cost-free education became unattainable for me. The era before 1991 had offered free education to all, but my enrollment began in 1993. Despite criticisms directed at the communist system, it did have its positive aspects. I enrolled in a challenging department that trained systems engineers at college. This particular department held a reputation for its difficulty. The curriculum encompassed extensive topics in higher mathematics, physics, programming, electronics, and logic. The workload was intense, demanding attendance at the institute every day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I found a way to finance my education. My father committed to a 5-year job, and in return, funds were transferred to my college account. Unfortunately, the economic crisis left people without savings, and salaries were often insufficient even for basic necessities like bread and milk. Seeking aid from large enterprises became a common practice among students, though they were frequently turned away. Many students faced expulsion for unpaid tuition, irrespective of their academic performance. At that time in Ukraine, there were no dedicated funds. Lawlessness and disorder characterized the former U.S. countries. To control the influx of students attending college without paying tuition, a covert survival system emerged. Assignments in all required courses for a computer science major were overwhelming, making it impossible for anyone to manage the workload. Those who coped with the extensive assignments received A's, while others received failing grades solely due to not achieving the best results. The educational environment was further complicated, given that half of the group comprised students with straight A's from various schools and scholastic competition winners. This fostered a misleading sense of competition. While healthy competition is beneficial, it became challenging when students had to wait in line to use a computer that had been in service for a decade and struggled to save their work. In the realm of computer science, having access to a computer was indispensable. During an era when salaries hovered around $20, the prospect of acquiring a $1,000 computer remained a distant dream. Additionally, the looming specter of government drafts for young men into the Army, even during times of peace, added another layer of challenge. Despite the absence of war, the persistent threat of physical or psychological harm cast a shadow over our lives. I underwent a complete breakdown, leaving those around me bewildered and unable to comprehend the depth of my struggles. Looking back, even if I had been in full possession of my faculties, conveying the psychological difficulty I faced would have been an insurmountable task. Abruptly severing all connections, withdrawing from social activities, consuming minimal food, losing interest in everything, seeing no prospects for the future, and contemplating the lack of desire to live became the hallmarks of my existence. My sole yearning was for a connection with God, devoid of any suicidal inclinations. My life seemed devoid of purpose, but it took a few years to realize that the detailed near-death experience, need, had a profound purpose in my life. An invisible force had revealed new paths, urging me to strive for meaningful goals that not only fulfilled my needs, but also benefited those around me. It emphasized that each day should be brimming with worthwhile activities. From the radiant light, my initial revelation was understanding. Recognizing that only thoughts, memory, and spiritual essence accompany us beyond life. Until then, I believed material pursuits shouldn't dominate life goals. But applying this theory proved challenging. The teachings of the Bible, despite never having studied it for a year or attending church, played a pivotal role. I often compared my internal experiences with external events, and my spiritual breakthrough endured for approximately 1 to 2 years, continuing with significant power. Insights into believers' shortcomings emerged, emphasizing sincerity and wholehearted belief. Many spoke but seldom acted, displaying generosity except towards troublesome neighbors. Leo Tolstoy highlighted the importance of inner reconciliation. As everything became evident, I developed the ability to detect authentic smiles, tension, pride, and humility with a mere glance. Spontaneously, I began observing minute details for later analysis, extending from eye movements to natural elements like blades of grass. My heightened sense of hearing, cultivated through music school, allowed me to perceive sounds beyond the normal range. Flying in dreams became more frequent during well-rested and fasting periods. My primary focus shifted towards spiritual development for myself and my surroundings. Monitoring thoughts, words, and actions granted me ample free time. Countless instances showcased people emulating positive changes as I influenced those around me by transforming myself first. Observing the commandments in deeds, not just words, altered the atmosphere significantly. Today's experience concludes here, and I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Until the next video, stay safe and blessed.